Welcome back to another week of Limbus Company, patch note analysis, and new identity overview. This week we've got a lot of stuff to cover because not only do we have 2 egos and an identity from Walpurgis Night 3, we're also getting Mirror Dungeon 4 this week, and a lot of information related to that. So let's just jump straight into it. Of course, as per usual, we'll start with the simplest of them, which is still quite a lot to handle, that of course being the He ego. Wingbeat Ishmael.
그래요. 그렇게 가만히 있어요. 상처는 고개는 맛없으니까. 날 조심해야지. 나쁜 마음을 품은 놈은.
Wingbeat Ishmael, it's a He ego, it's Ishmael's second He, it's going to be replacing Ardor Blossom Star, or in the same spot as it, and it is a very, very big ego for us to get, because it is the first ego to have more than one coin. Let's take a look at it, shall we? So, on Awakening, Wingbeat is a 2-coin/gluttony ego. If the skill's healing exceeds the unit's max HP, redirects the excess healing to one out of the least HP percentage instead. Simple enough. First coin heals a percentage of max HP on self, and the second coin, lose SP on head's hit, and reuse the coin. So basically, how the secret keys work, it'll probably be a relatively low-cost ego, like maybe like a 10 SP cost, and then for every time you roll heads on the second coin, you'll lose even more SP, but you'll get another coin. So it's all a matter of, luck, how many times you can get heads in a row. Once again, I'm sure there's like a limit. There's probably going to be like a reuse this coin like 4 times, 3 times max, probably. But either way, there would be a max, almost, because, losing sanity each time. Yeah, a very cool way to do it. And the fact that the actual excess HP healing still has a use is really nice. Now, the other effects of the second coin are that while you heal yourself based on percentage of damage dealt, you also inflict Gluttony, Fragility, and Bleed. It's same turn Gluttony, Fragility, so the use cases might be a little limited depending on how fast you are. But it is going to apply to the other coins of Wingbeat is the main thing about that. You hit the second coin once, you inflict like 1 Gluttony, Fragility, and then you reuse the coin, meaning you hit again, and you can potentially inflict more Gluttony, Fragility. It's going to be a very luck-based ego, which is why I think they haven't done multi-coin egos in the past. But you're probably guaranteed to get at least 2, maybe 3 pretty consistently. It depends on how much the SP costs. It's going to be very dependent on the numbers to see just how good this is. Now, the Corrosion, on the other hand, is a single coin and doesn't have any sort of funny reuse gimmicks. Single coin / gluttony skill targets the unit the least core HP. So it's going to be one of those ones that's good against, normal encounters when it'll be bearable in normal encounters, I suppose, where it'll actually hit, the enemies, but in Adnos and stuff, it's gonna hit your allies, almost certainly. Unless there's something with low core HP, like a Drifting Fox fight, something like that. Gain X% of highest resonance minus X attack weight. So, just pretty standard stuff for egos, really. Attack weight gain based on Gluttony resonance, or whatever resonance, I suppose, but primarily Gluttony, because that's the one here. Deal before attack, deal X% HP damage to at most 5 random other allies. And then you heal HP on self, able to damage dealt to allies, and can theoretically kill allies. Similar to the Abno page from the Fairy Festival from LobCorp, everyone else loses HP, but Ishmael gains a bunch of HP. And also, if this unit dealt damage to an ally, gain attack power up this turn and haste next turn. And as before attack, the attack power will apply to the ego. And after attack, if the skill's healing exceeds this unit's max HP, gain offense level up based on excess HP next turn. Now, after attack, so it is next turn, of course. But yeah, so instead of the Awakening's gimmick of excess healing heals other allies, excess healing just buffs Ishmael even further. Tails hit is positive, so of course this is going to be a negative coin Corrosion, as you'd expect. Heal self by X% damage, dealt, inflict bleed, and on kill gain attack power next turn. A very interesting ego. If you're willing to just sacrifice a lot of stuff from your other people, you can heal up Ishmael a lot with this Corrosion. Although it sounds like the Awakening is also going to be really good healing, so I don't know how much the Corrosion is going to be necessary. Could potentially be useful, though, and the fact that if the excess healing, even if she used it at high HP, it means she's going to gain a lot of offense level up next turn. depending on how it scales, of course. Then the passive, Gluttony, if the main target took HP damage this turn and isn't at max HP on skill use, if this unit is max HP, deal more damage, but if they're not at max HP, they instead heal. So you just hit anyone that's, with this build, just hit anyone that's not full HP, get a bunch of benefits, to either healing or damage if you don't need the healing. Just kind of just the general vibe of this ego is just healing, and if you don't need healing, instead it's other beneficial effects, which is a really cool way to go about a healing ego. Because currently, like, a lot of the good healing egos are just stupid amounts of healing, most notably, you know, Fluid Sac, Pursuance, stuff like that. And they do have other effects, but, like, you're just using them for healing. But in this case, even if Ishmael doesn't need the healing, she can either heal her allies with the Awakening, and do a lot of damage to the Awakening, potentially, depending on how the coin luck goes. Or with the Corrosion, she can buff herself up a lot at the expense of some of her allies' HP. It seems very cool, that's for sure. But let's move on to the next ego, shall we? That, of course, being the Vav ego, Sanguine Desire Rodion.
아름다운 춤을 추는 건 나뿐이어야 해. 그럼 네 발목을 잘라버리면
Sanguine Desire Rodion, Lust Vav, very cool stuff, and very similar to some of the mechanics from Sanguine Desire from Runa, of course, that being the whole bleed count shenanigans going on. Let's take a look at this. So, Sanguine Desire, Awakening, 1 coin, Lust / skill, gain coin power for bleed on target, and on combat start, the main target for this skill does not lose bleed count for this turn. So whoever you primarily target with this ego just can't run out of bleed count. Super good for just getting a bunch of bleed on someone, getting a little bit of bleed count inflicted in the process. Like, this way, like, you won't need wound closing to maintain bleed, which is really nice. Now, the only identity Rodion has for good bleed is Kurokumo. She does also technically have N-Corp, but that's not good bleed. Yes, Kurokumo, whose main thing is the skill 3 bleed, but that's actually probably a pretty good thing that she doesn't have a good bleed ID, because you can run her without sacrificing your good bleed infliction, right, to use this ego. But yeah, also, for 3 turns, lose SP at turn end. It's going to evolve ego pretty similar to both the binds, it seems. It'll probably be like a 10 cost, lose a bunch of sanity each turn in exchange for it. Seems like that. And also, a lot of Lust Resonance stuff going on here, so it probably synergizes real well with Garden of Thorns Gregor. On hit, Lust Affinity damage equal to bleed potency on target at high Lust Resonance, inflict Lust damage equal to bleed on target times X instead, and at Y plus Lust Absolute Resonance, inflict Lust Affinity damage equal to bleed potency target times X plus instead. So a lot of Lust damage based on bleed with this. And on kill, if the skill lets coin effects deal damage that exceeds the target's remaining HP, deal the excess damage as fixed damage between all enemies. So yeah, if you just stack a stupid amount of bleed on one enemy, take them down, you'll do a lot of damage here. So pretty cool, that's for sure. Good, doesn't have like insane bleed infliction, but instead it just maintains bleed on target, benefits a lot from bleed, probably benefits a lot from Rodion being fairly slow. Because its combat starts, the bleed thing will apply no matter how fast she is, and then she can just let her allies inflict a bunch of bleed on target, and then Rodion can burst them down with this. Now the Corrosion, once again, Lust / single coin, targets randomly, gain highest resonance -2 attack weight, inflict X plus Lust resonance bleed, inflict bleed count. It's a pretty standard stuff. Rodion's got a lot of egos that are good at setting up status effects, so Corroded Sanguine Desire might just be really good for setting up bleed. Who knows, maybe you should just Corroded Sanguine Desire one turn, next turn Awakening form. It'll probably be really bad for Sandy if you do that, but maybe it'll work. And then the passive, Obsession, this unit's leftmost skill on the dashboard inflicts double the bleed potency. Really notable because of Kurokumo Rodion. Her skill 3 on a crit will inflict 10 bleed potency. And so if you just pair with this passive, you can instead of like 20 bleed potency. I really wonder how this multiplies with, if you get, Smoke and Wires, the ego gift that doubles bleed infliction. I wonder if it would be 30 bleed or 40 bleed in this situation. I wonder I guess it depends on how that ego works, if it's like a final multiplier, if this one's like an earlier multiplier, I don't know. Either way, it could be a lot of bleed inflection with that passive. Yeah, it's evolved, that's for sure. Very powerful effects. It's probably going to be pretty priced in ego resources, of course, because it's evolved, so it might not be the most spammable. Of course, in Mirror Dungeons, you can get a lot of resources anyways. But either way, like, this seems like a pretty strong ego. Both of them do. All the Walpurgis stuff is always pretty strong. The issue is, of course, going to be pulling for it. But it's time to move on to the main course, isn't it? The 3-star, the Philip identity for Sinclair, Dawn Office Fixer, Sinclair.
타인을 위한 누군가를 위한 저는 그런 이기적인 말로 저를 포장했어요. 나 당신도 새겨진 스스로를 무언가로 포장해본 적이 있나요? 이 감정이 내게 지울 수 없는 낙인이라면 차라리 이 슬픔과 함께 일어서겠어. 이 경적 속에서 타올라라. 여전히 무섭고 겁이 나. 그럼에도 멈추고 싶지 않아.
Now, as you could probably see from that trailer, this guy has 2 forms here, and he's also got a skill 4. This isn't like how, like, technically, Blade Lineage Merso had a skill 4-ish, but it was really a counter. No, this is a proper skill 4. Not really. It's effectively an alternate skill 3. I don't know why I'm hyping it up so much. Let's go over this guy's passive first, though, because this explains his main gimmick. Unstable Shell of Ego. Turn start, if you are at max SP, you consume some SP to enter the Volatile Ego Wax and Pinion state, or Volatile Ego as it calls it mostly. If 2+ allies are defeated in a single turn, as unit's SP isn't at -45, you also, your SP gets reset to Y, assumably like a 30 or something, and you enter the Volatile Ego state. So you can either, so there's 2 ways to enter the state, either be at max SP for a turn. I don't know if this is a passive you need to trigger, maybe you'll need a couple of Wrath to trigger it, probably. But otherwise you just need to be 45 SP. Or if some multiple allies die at the same time, which is potentially doable, but probably unlikely to happen unless things go poorly, you also get your ego. If the unit gets staggered due to damage or raise stagger threshold when entering the volatile ego state, recover from stagger, so you just can get unstaggered by it, unless it's something you can't be naturally recovered from. Assumably, something like KQE, stagger probably doesn't count as being recoverable from. Something like Binding Technique from Nelly. There's probably some other examples out there. I assume that's what it means by something that cannot be naturally recovered from. Something that's like a stagger that lasts a little longer than normal, right? And also, in the Volatile Ego state, gain Volatile Passion, which just makes you inflict more burn, gain more final power if target has burn, makes it so your defensive skill inflicts more burn, and makes it so you lose SP every turn based on how long you've been in the Volatile Ego state. Now, SP loss is a big thing here, because, final part of this passive, at 0 or less SP, exit the Volatile Ego Wax and Pinion state. So you need to absolutely make sure that you maintain your SP, otherwise you will lose your ego, and you'll have to build it back up to 45 to trigger again. Although, as you'll see, there's going to be a lot of things that reduce this guy's sanity. Go over his skills. Skill 1, Fierce Charge, 1 coin Gloom Slash, on hit inflict burn, and while in Volatile Ego, reuse coin, and also spend SP in Volatile Ego. So, without Volatile Ego, it's just a fairly standard lame skill 1, single coin, a little bit of burn potency, nothing too special. Although, in Volatile Ego, it costs some SP, and it becomes a 2 coin. Now, it becomes a 2 coin, technically, like with an asterisk, similar to, of course, your traditional reuse coin stuff, similar to DHE Hong Lu's skill 1, right? Like, it'll be a 2 coin that technically works with something like the Rusty Nail, or something like the, or something notably like commemorative coin, so you could use it multiple times if you wanted to, although that would cost a lot of SP, and probably won't be worth your time to do something like that, right? Then the skill 2, Sunset Blade, 3 coins slash envy attack, gain clash power at high burn, lose SP in Volatile Ego. Also in Volatile Ego, though, you do gain attack weight, and at high SP you gain even more attack weight, so it becomes a mass attack. And of course, while in Volatile Ego, consume even more SP after attack. So this one seems to be pretty pricey for your actual SP. But this might actually, I assume the skill 2 is going to be more pricey than the skill 3, potentially. just based on, you know, some of the effects and stuff. But also, it'll be a mass attack that has 3 burn count infliction, 1 burn count infliction, potentially more on all 3 of the coins, right? So even without ego, it'll just be a lot of burn count infliction, but with your ego manifested, this attack's going to be really good at just getting a lot of burn count. It'll be nice to have someone else who's really good at setting burn count, because without ego gifts, it's kind of rough to do right now, right? Like, half of the burn identities don't even have any burn count on them, and, like, the only ones that have, like, decent burn count is, like, Ishmael and Honglu, right? And you're probably going to be benching Honglu anyways. But yeah, pretty nice to just have a skill like that. Now, the skill 3, Stigmatized, 2 coin Wrath Pierce skill. Coin power plus for every burn on target. When in volatile ego state, activate Blazing Strike instead. So this skill can only be used outside of your ego state, because when you're in ego state, it gets replaced by his skill 4, quote-unquote, Blazing Strike. Clash win, heal SP, clash lose, lose SP. Several Stigmatize, you know, it's, instead of emotion coins, though, it is sanity, but this attack's probably going to be really good for just getting your SP up to trigger your ego. Although it will have a trade-off, of course. Will you want to either use this or use this skill to get your ego up by raising your sanity, or do you want to save it until you get your ego up so you can have Blazing Strike instead? Which, of course, is a very logical choice to make, and it really depends on the situation, but the option is definitely nice. Inflict burn with coin 1, inflict burn with coin 2. Nothing too special beyond, you know, the sanity stuff and the potential of the volatile ego state stuff. Now, let's take a look at this skill 4. Blazing Strike, 1 coin / Wrath. Now, you'll notice it doesn't mention attack weight at all here, which means this will probably be the first skill that has attack weight by default and doesn't gain attack weight with certain conditionals and stuff. This means we'll actually be able to see whoever is being targeted by the mass attack, and it won't be like something like, you know, Spice Bush skill 2, where, oh, I wonder who the other 2 targets could be. This one will actually probably know, which also means it will trigger Grey Coat, since none of the other skill mass attacks trigger Grey Coat because they don't have attack weight by default, but that's a fairly minor thing. Gain coin power for every X, sum burn potency on all enemies. So all enemies for this part. I assume it's not going to be an all-enemy target attack, but just all enemies, it changes how much coin power you have. Clash win, heal SP, clash lose, lose SP. So, and once again, similar to Stigmatize, it's got that part. More damage based on Wrath Resonance, so, and just even more damage for every Wrath Resonance at X plus highest absolute resistance for Wrath. Synergize well with some, because we've gotten some Wrath Resonance synergy with recent burn IDs, namely just Liu Rodion, and how she'll just buff her allies for Wrath Resonance stuff. Although she mainly wants to target Liu people, but we still gain a benefit here, of course. After attack, lose SP, and with the coin, deal more damage for every burn on target, inflict burn against random enemies based on how much burn there is, and with Wrath Resonance, inflicts burn count as well, so it'll be burn and burn count infliction. On hit, inflict even more burn, and on kill, randomly inflict burn on based on the defeated target between all enemies, you know, similar to, you know, the Zhao effect, you know, kill the force of a wildfire, right? Kill someone, and then their burn gets split with this. Yeah, and that's a lot here. I think I'm stumbling on my words a little bit, but that's just because there's so much going on here. Yeah, seems like a pretty solid skill. Just a very strong mass attack to use. It probably won't be as bad for SP as the skill 2 if I had to guess. The skill 2 is probably only going to be a 2 target, maybe a 3 target, and this one's probably going to be like a 3, potentially more target. I suppose we'll see if they're willing to go for like a 5 target or something like this. It's definitely not one you could use first turn. That's kind of just Project Moon's balancing philosophy or ego in general. You can never use an ego turn 1 of a normal encounter, right? Or use a mass attack, I mean. Since you physically can't max it out first turn. Now, of course, stuff in Mirror Dungeon's different because you'll start with resources and you might start at max sanity, and maybe, you know, it'll work like that. I don't know. We'll have to see if it'll work like that. Moving on to the defensive skill, Rue, Lust Block skill, gains base power in ego state based on burn on target, and lose SP in ego state. Also in ego state, you know, the funny status effect triggers, so you'll inflict even more burn when you defend, which won't matter too much, who knows, maybe it'll be beneficial. Now, he's got another passive beyond the Unstable Shell of Ego one, Stigma Workshop Weaponry / Passion. This unit inflicts more burn potency and count with its skills. Involve the Ego state and a 0+ SP, gain SP divided by X coin power, which, I mean, sounds like it's going to be stupid. It sounds like it's going to be SP divided by 15, if anything, which could be a lot of coin power. Maybe it'll be less than that, though, right? Probably less than that, because that sounds like a little too much. This passive is potentially the one that's based on Resonance, and the Unstable Shell of an Ego will be always active. We don't know for sure. It could go either way, but this one seems like it's more of like a conditional type thing, so Unstable Shell Ego might just always be active. Similar to something like the Lake Hunter thing from like Captain Ishmael, or, you know, In Memoriam from Blade the Image Merceau. And then support passive, Flaming Brand. Number 1 center to be deployed, inflicts more burn count on heads hit. Definitely a cool passive, because you might think it's similar to something like Liu Honglu's passive first, but it doesn't require them to inflict burn. They just need to land heads, so you could actually get some burn going on non-burn teams with this support passive, which is cool, I guess. Burn count is kind of hard to attain sometimes. But yeah, very in-depth ID. There's a lot to this guy, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'll see if I get lucky enough to pull him. But either way, like, yeah, seems like a very good idea. Anyways, it's time to move on to some of these patch notes, and there's a lot here as well, starting with the Walpurgis stuff. Walpurgis will be added to the game this update. They're going to be adding the 2 new Egos and the 3-star. And also, they're changing some stuff about the extraction stuff. It's gonna say a lot of stuff here, a lot of it I don't need to go through in depth, but basically what it's saying with some of that is the fact that, new announcers are gonna be more frequent than old announcers, right? Like, well, you still could get, like a Malku with a Pierre Jack, an Angela announcer, because that counts as Walpurgis. It's gonna be a lot less likely to get them compared to something like the new ones, Yasad or Molar Office. Walpurgis Night extraction will be over the event period, so yeah, it's saying here everything extractable. That's all the new stuff, of course. I'm really sad that, you know, Wingbeat Ishmael isn't from the event, but oh well. We'll have to see how easy it'll be to pull 2 Egos and an ID. During the event period, all previous Walpurgis stuff will be extractable. The previous Walpurgis stuff doesn't receive increased extraction rates, so while you could get, you know, like a Magic Bullet Otis, you know, your Hook Office, Honglu, stuff like that, it's not going to be too likely, it's not going to be increased. I feel like the 2 stars should be increased something, but I don't know. Then you'd get a lot more of their shards, since we don't have a 2-star from this time. So yeah, you can see, extractions. You can get Walpurgis stuff from the other extractions during the event, but they won't be favored, of course. And you can see everything is listed down there. All current previous announcers, yeah, this is what I mentioned before. New announcers will have higher extraction rates, old announcers will not have higher extraction rates. I wonder how much higher it'll be. Hopefully, it'll be good enough. I'd like to get the new announcers, but I don't care too much. Esong Exchange. Now, you can use Esong to, get the old announcers if you so desire. The new stuff and the old announcers will always be gettable, so if you manage to get 200 pulls and you're still really looking hard for that Malkuth announcer or something like that, I've got a friend who might be like that. No, probably not. Doesn't have that many pulls. But then you can just use Esong even for the past announcers, which is cool. It's kind of a shame that you can't actually just dispense announcers, but fair enough, I guess. Yeah, all previous stuff is going to be dispensable, not the new stuff, and not announcers. Same as you'd expect. With the start of that new mini-episode being introduced, you'll be unlocked for completing stuff. Unlike Green Dawn, it seems like you physically can only do this one if you are up to date. I liked how Green Dawn was fightable even if you weren't, like, currently up to date with story content, but this one it might not be like that based on how they're seeing. Oh no, wait, I'm stupid. It literally says managers who have not cleared it will be asked to confirm. But it says it's... Okay. I read the unlock because I misinterpreted that. I don't know why it says you have to unlock it by clearing 6-8 when it says you can still do it if you complete... Okay. Ignore that. You can complete it even if you're earlier on in the game, it seems. Into a certain library's book is what they're calling it here. And you can see the UI there, very Runa-type UI. It's going to be a fairy festival, of course. It seems like the normal might just be the fairies itself, and if you want to fight the actual, like, fairy queen, the actual fairy festival, you need to do the hard version. Which is interesting. Yeah, an easy difficulty, your identity will be brought to max brought to max level, and it'll also bring your uptide levels to uptide 3, which is cool, I guess. It'll give you a way to do uptide 3 even if you don't have uptide 3 on your people, which is definitely interesting. And of course, there's going to be rewards once again. The first Sinner deployed will get the Librarian of History effect, which means you'll get more skill slots and other beneficial effects. It'll probably be similar to the Captain status effect from the previous Walpurgis, where you gain another skill slot. If you look at the bottom image there, you can see that Ishmael has a second skill slot there. Is that Ishmael? No, I think that's Philip. I don't know why I thought Ishmael. No, Philip has, and he's selected first at the top, so he's got the second skill slot in turn 1. Because of that. Into a certain library's book encounters a suppression of a fairy festival abnormality. Going past 99 turns will result in defeat. I don't know if you guys knew this, but that's always the case. They didn't really need to specify that, but they do have a 1 out of 99 in the corner there, I guess. I'm concerned why they need that, but I don't think it'll actually be relevant at all. Complete certain missions to get random stuff. You can see the ones that are complete suppression of fairy festival gain 2 tickets. Completed within 10 turns, gain a banner, it looks like. Let the Fairy Queen defeat a Fairy Mouse in a single encounter, gain 2 more tickets, stuff like that, right? It's simple enough things. You can no longer complete your mission when the event closes, but the rewards will last for an additional week, in case you forget to claim them, I guess. But yeah, that's all for this. It seems pretty cool, but the worst part, or I guess the best part, but there's so much to go over here. It's a very jam-packed update. Mirror of the Wuthering also releases this week for some insane reason. And let's just get into what they say. This is a 14-part patch note, so there's a lot going on here. So, they're renaming Normal and Hard to Simulation and Ritornello. Ritornello meaning like an interlude in a song, or not an interlude, like a... What's the term? I forget the term, but like when the vocal parts stop and like it just plays the music for a little bit. That's what Ritornello is. I had to look it up because I've never heard of that before. Recommends you to be max level uptide stuff through its all-star buffs activated for the Ritornello version. I might just call it normal and hard. I don't know. I'll call it normal and hard for right now, I think, just for simplicity's sake. And yeah, it's saying that your access to certain EO-gift types and hands cost other stuff will not be available at the start. And just attempting the hard mode without some of these buffs might be really bad. Let's get into the actual stuff. Mirror 3 will be closed. You'll just all your starter buffs and Starlight will be reset. And Ritornello will only be unlocked after clearing Canto 5 now. So they seem to be keep on doing this. Just you need to be at least have cleared the Canto before the current one in Rex's hard mode. Certain Mirror 4 stuff might be balanced in the future updates, so you know if they might nerf stuff or buff stuff if it's rough. We'll have to see. But also, very notable thing, rewards from Mirror fronts that remain incomplete before the update will become inaccessible. See, it seems like you can actually get like a double up on weekly rewards this week. If you just do your Mirror Dungeon before the update comes out, but after you know the weekly reset, it seems like you'll still get your bonus back. So that's pretty cool. So does not cost any resources, you can spend modules at the end to get rewards. All weekly bonuses will now be consolidated to 3 times per week. You might have noticed the image earlier, but there was no, like, hard bonus. It was just 3 normal bonuses, and that seems to be just the general thing. So you can still use it as per normal. Like, if you look at the bottom there, if you spend all 3 weekly bonuses in one run, you still get 225 XP, same as Mirror Dungeon 3. Or, you have the option to do 3 separate Mirror Dungeon runs and to claim the bonuses. And you do gain more rewards this way. You can see that you gain 250 pass XP instead of 225. A pretty minor increase, that's for sure. But, like, it's still there, right? So, I don't know. The normal rewards remain unchanged. You know, every single amount of stuff gained from that is changed. Although, it will be notably different because normal mode now is 5 floors instead of 4 floors. Very interesting stuff. They're bringing it back to Mirror Dungeon 2. Hopefully the floors are a little shorter. I really liked the length of Mirror Dungeon 3, so hopefully the floors are a little shorter here to make up for it, because Mirror Dungeon 2 is kind of too long to be too much fun to grind too much usually. I don't know. Starter buffs. Yep, you get a bunch of starter buffs. Takes about as much Starlight in Mirror Dungeon 4 as it did in Mirror Dungeon 3. And you also start with a new thing called Eye of the Storm, which basically means you start with a free 200 Starlight to spend it in whatever direction you want to spend it in. Activate all major buffs unlocks Witcher Stars. Witcher Stars, assumably it's going to be similar. We'll have to see if they change it all. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf it a little bit, because starting with a tier 4 is stupid. Starting EU gifts. Now, so it's now 3 fixed EU gifts in each category. You can no longer reset until you get what you want in particular. It'll only be the specific 3 things. Like, maybe, for example, if you choose Bleed, your options will be, like, Wound Clarid, Rusty Nail, and, I don't know, the Muzzle. And maybe those will be the only 3 options ever, right? So it'll just make it so you can't just keep on resetting until you start with the fusion stuff, which, yeah, fair enough. Very much fair enough. It was kind of stupid you could do that in the first place. It'll make it a little harder here. And yeah, that's basically all they're saying here. Now, to start off with, the random refresh option is gone. The random category still seems to be available, though. So you could theoretically keep on resetting random until you get what you're looking for. I don't know. And also, list of new available keywords. They're going from 7 to 10 because now Slash, Pierce, and Blunt are being treated as major things. So instead of building around a status effect, you also have the option to build around a damage type, which is cool. More variety is nice. Curious to see how they're going to go about balancing that, but yeah. Creating your team, you can choose the identities. In normal mode, everything will be fixed at 45, but in hard mode, it'll be at level 45, or it'll be at whatever level they actually are. Some stuff, uptime and thread spinning stuff will be reflected like normal. Conditions for starting cost is the same, so using 1 stars and 2 stars gets you more cost, and stuff that has a little bit of rest bonus gets you more cost. Amount of starlight from rest bonuses is unchanged, so rest bonuses can be identical. Although with this update, all rest bonuses will be reset, so you're going to have to build it up. The first few runs are going to be the worst because for Starlight gain, because you won't have any rest bonuses, but after like 5 runs or something, you will have people with high rest bonuses, which will be nice. Floor themes. You'll be able to select a floor theme every time you enter a new floor. You're given 3 options here. That seems to be the main thing. Some of them are themed on, like, cantos. Like, you can see there in that image, it's a small image, but you see they got Nagel and Hammer. They've got, like, a technology-themed one, like Canto 4 technology-themed one. And then one with, like, a bunch of, like, random ab nodes. So you can see Gossipium, you can see, it says to be cleaved. It's like a Slash-themed one, right? Stuff like that. I think it's Ardor Blossom Moth on the left side. I can't tell what's on the right side. I'm bad with silhouette and it is small. Each theme pack determines the pool of enemies. EU gifts and mirror dungeon events appearing in that floor. So, you know, you should choose whatever fits you the best. And once a floor theme has been selected, it won't show up in the same mirror dungeon run. So if you choose, you know, Nagel and Hammer in the first floor, you won't be able to get that again this run. However, you might still see repeat enemies for Abnos, because some Abnos are in multiple packs. Simple enough. So you can see it shows you the EU gifts you can get, what's, you know, the ideal stuff, how much starlight or how much cost you'll gain, stuff like that, right? And also, you gain bonus starlight for selecting floor theme packs you haven't chosen in the previous mirror dungeon run. So going for a variety of options is benefited, as is often the case. Following are the categories. So you can see stuff based on main story stuff. There's brand new EU gifts exclusive to each main story theme pack. So this means we might get, you know, like a Hurdle Ego you can only get in the Canto 2 floor pack. Stuff like that, right? Event theme packs, you can get stuff based on the events. You can get the EU gifts from the House Chicken and Yield My Flesh to Clean Their Bones dungeons, although it seems like they've been nerfed to be more reasonable. Fair enough, but stupid Rupture Chicken gift is the most broken thing of all time, so it's for the best that you can't get that as much. Doesn't mean if you're running a Blood Lineage team, you can go for the Yield My Flesh to Clean Their Bones events and potentially get some pretty beneficial stuff, though, right? Although it's probably going to be more Slash-themed than anything now. And they're also adding EU gifts for the SEA and Miracle and District 20 event. You can get packs that are based on certain status effects. You can get packs that are based on the damage types. You can get ones with enemies weak to those and enemies that use those. And similar things for the Sin Affinities. You can get enemies that are weak to the certain Sin Affinities or enemies that use certain Sin Affinities. And simple enough stuff. That's all the categories. It's a lot of categories, that's for sure. Available theme packs in each floor will depend on difficulty mode. The number of stages depends on the theme pack. Not every theme pack is available in all difficulties. And like I said before, floor themes you didn't select in the previous dungeon get more starlight. And in new floor theme packs from events and future updates may be introduced to Mirror Dungeon as the season progresses. This I'm very excited about. This means when we do get like the events, like we get the time-killing time event, they might just add it as a permanent thing to Mirror Dungeon 4 even after the event ends. So you won't have to wait for an entire new season to see the stuff in the Mirror Dungeon. Mirror Dungeon events and stages. New choices added to Mirror Dungeon events. Looking at the image there's a third option to the Ambling Pearl. So now you're given the option to get an even stronger EU gift at the cost of having to fight Ambling Pearl itself there. And it seems like they're going to be doing that for a lot of random Abnos. Like, the trailer itself showed, like, a quote, like, related to, Yasunyata, so maybe you'll get the option to fight Yasunyata to get a strong EU gift. It's going to be very, situational depending on how often you're going to want to fight these, because it's obviously going to extend, like, the length of the run a little bit, and we'll have to see how good the EU gifts are, right? It's also nice how it does tell you there, like, what you get for choosing certain options. Always a solid stuff. Mirror Dungeon event check values have been adjusted. Most Mirror Dungeon 1 events, the values are probably going to be increased because it was stupidly easy to pass them compared to Mirror Dungeon 2 and 3 stuff. Also, likewise, it seems like they might be nerfing some of the rough checks. Maybe they'll nerf, like, the Broken Wings check, since that one is very high and hard to pass. We'll have to see. Enemy variety adjusted. So now abnormalities can show up in focus encounters and risky encounters, so it's not as, like, generic, right? Like, you'll probably be able to get, like, some random early Kanto Abnos as, like, early stuff in just risk encounter and stuff. Like, you might just see, like, random, like Corroded Inquisitor, stuff like that in focused encounters, which is always nice. Legend reordered and renamed, so, risky encounters have been renamed to elite encounters. Didn't they? No, they haven't changed the name of risky encounters. They changed the name of Abno encounters to focused encounters, right? So now they're changing risky to elite encounters. We'll see if I get used to the name change, right? Total of 92 new EU gifts are really added to the Mirror Dungeon. This is insane. There's now a total of 190... I wonder, are they counting the Blade Lineage and Hell's Chicken stuff too? Because if they're not counting those, then I assume they are, because it's 100 normal ego gifts. So there's 192 ego gifts now. That's insane. They just doubled the amount of ego gifts in Mirror Dungeon. And we can actually see some of the ego gifts there. Emerald Elytra, so there's probably some sort of emeraldy buggy Abno based on that. And it gives poise to the highest speed person. You can also see Arrested Him, which just gives everyone haste if all enemies have bleed. Cool stuff. And you don't see Gathering Skulls there. It looks similar enough, it's low res, so maybe I'm wrong though. Mounting Trials and Simulation have been adjusted to be closer to Ritornello, so the normal mode Mounting Trials are going to be actually something you'd need to care about, I guess, because right now they're kind of not too important. Enemy level game added to the Mounting Trials, but it's much more forgiving than hard mode. And buffs are compounding as previous Mirror Dungeon. Proceeding without selecting any buff will randomly select one. Highest enemy level up will give you additional selection EU gifts. Yeah, similar enough stuff. Nothing, everything like that's saying there is like the previous Mirror Dungeon, right? Shops. An option to refresh using Starlight has been added. So you can see that you can refresh with 10 Starlight or 25 cost. So if you're willing to spend some of your meta progression currency, you can get more refreshes going. Reminds me a lot of like Risk of Rain 2, like spending lunar coins there. Which, that's cool. Once again, you're definitely not going to want to do that until you've got a lot of stuff. And you can see another ego there. You can see the Emerald Elytra there. We can also see the Devil's Share, though, which is a Tier 1 Poise ego. Interesting stuff. We don't know what it does because we can just see it there, but we know it's a Tier 1 Poise, so cool. Load adjustment cost change, so now it only requires 100 to adjust your team instead of 200, which makes sense. I never bothered adjusting my team because 200's a lot, 100 fits a lot more. Rest stops. Affinity Fusion has been changed. It's no longer based on Sin Affinity, it's based on the status effect. So instead of fusing 2 wraths to get a burn, you fuse 2 burns to get a burn. They're saying is here that the only reason they did it like this in the past was because they didn't think there wouldn't be enough like burn ego gifts to like guarantee to get high good burn fusions, right? But now there's so many ego gifts being added that that's not going to be an issue much at all. Also, affinity-based fusions, more obvious keyword-based fusions, yeah, that's what they're saying there. Fusion guide's been added, so you can see the fusion outputs a little bit better. That's nice. And load adjustment, it's just the same thing at the shops. It costs 100 to readjust your team instead of 200 now. And finally, encounter reward cards. Each encounter has a chance to provide you with selection of encounter reward cards. Higher difficulty stuff will yield higher rewards. So you can see, basically you can choose an ego gift, you can choose a cost and a chance at an EU gift, or you can choose just straight up cost. So depending on if you want EU gifts or if you want cost, like, there's kind of like a scale of what you want there, right? That's what it seems to be. It might be more variety. We'll have to see. Major changes. Starlight gains changed a little bit differently. I don't know the specifics how to calculate Starlight. It mentions it at the end there, but I don't pay too much attention to it. It's just slightly different now, right? And also, responsiveness for various VFX and SFX have been improved. That's all from your dungeon's information. It's a lot of stuff. That's so many EU gifts. That's the part that's still getting me to now. Like, God, it's going to be so much fun. There's going to be so much to do this update. It's going to be insane. There's one last thing, though. The normal patch notes. Very much shorter than the rest of the stuff. As per usual, you know, new content remains normal. It's telling us here that, you know, the rewards from your dungeon will be reset, so you will gain your bonuses back, it seems. New identities and ego added, new content. It's just saying to refer to the Steam announcement we already covered. Korean only changes, I don't know, bunch of bug fixes, that sort of thing. Don't know if there's anything too important here. Fix some story cutscene typos, always nice to see. And it looks like they're fixing some random EU gift stuff. Effect that applies to certain buffers or unopposed attack using defense skill. Whatever. And 300 lunas. Let's see, as per usual. I wish it was more. I wish there were more bugs to fix so we get more in time for Walpurgis, but that's fine if it isn't. But anyways, that is all the patch notes for this time. A lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff. I am looking forward to this so much. Of course, I'll be streaming the event as soon as it releases on Wednesday, so feel free to join me. We'll do some, you know, Walpurgis polling. We'll do the Walpurgis event. We'll also do some Mirror Dungeon 4ing. It'll be fun. But anyways, that'll be all for this time. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!